JJ, take one. Mark.
My name is Kapur, and I am an SJA Fellow. The problem I'm trying to solve, honestly, is how to get people talking to each other who normally wouldn't be talking to each other. And the way I am trying to solve that problem is through probably the most ancient of technologies, which is storytelling. So digital storytelling is extremely inclusive. It is accessible to all kinds of folks. It literally is creating a space, a third place that doesn't already exist. And in that space, people have a chance to learn about each other, and I love that. How many of you remember where you were and what you were doing on September 11th, 2001? Just raise of hands. If we look around, raise your hands if you don't remember. Okay, so I'm a part of the group here that doesn't remember, and that's because I was 2 years old on September 11th, 2001. And on the evening of that horrible tragedy, my family actually remembers pretty vividly what happened. We were watching the nightly news at home, and an image pops up on the TV screen. And my 2-year-old self is amazed to see my father on the nightly news. So I tug on my father's sleeve and I point up at the TV screen and shout, "Papa, Papa." The image on the screen that night was not my father. It was Osama bin Laden. My father tells me that this was a moment of profound fear. He was afraid that Americans would, as I had innocently done, see my father's beard and turban and think, terrorist. So as I got older, my father did what any protective father would do. Once a year, Papa came to my elementary homeroom classroom, and he did a presentation on Sikhism that he called Turban Time. Now I know what you're thinking. This kid probably never got any weird questions thrown at him growing up in Iowa. Yeah, no, I got all the questions. Is that a mouse on your head? How long is your hair? Can I touch your hair? Do you celebrate Christmas? And I got really good at answering all of the questions. In fact, my father would have me stand up in front of my classmates, and he would famously say year after year, "There's no such thing as a stupid question. Ask JJ anything." But by the time first grade turned into fifth grade, I was exhausted. So many of my relationships felt one-sided. It's hard to get to know someone, let alone build a relationship with them, if the conversation is going one way. If they have the questions and I have the answers. If they're the subject and I'm the object. Fast forward to high school. I was invited by the Des Moines nonprofit organization Cultural to become an open book storyteller. Now, Open Book had a simple motto: don't judge a book by its cover. The same is true of people. It was inspired by the Human Library Project in Denmark, where people are books and you check out a person and you get to hear a chapter from their life story. And I really vividly remember the first time I was checked out. Strange thing to say, checked out as an open book. I was at a chiropractic insurance company, and I was sitting around a group of insurance agents. I shared a story related to my Sikh identity. They asked me questions. I gave them answers, and it felt like elementary school all over again. Fast forward. I graduate from Stanford University. I return back to my hometown in Iowa. And I start experimenting with new ways of telling stories as a Steve Jobs Archive Fellow, now working full-time at Cultural. First, I launched a digital storytelling platform called eBook that I saw as a more accessible and inclusive alternative to open book. Really as an opportunity for Iowans in small towns to get to hear, say, a Sikh person share their story without traveling 2 hours on a rectilinear landscape to do so. I also, probably perhaps what I feel most proud of from my fellowship, is how I flipped the script on question asking. After the Supreme Court decided to make homelessness illegal in America, I sought out open books who at one point or another had been unhoused. Jaden, Joe, and Matthew. And after we had a chance to screen some of their ebook digital stories in front of a live audience, something magical happened. But I didn't want to just tell you about it. I wanted to sprinkle pixie dust right in this room and recreate it. So if you all look under your chairs, you'll find an envelope. I didn't have enough. Some of you might need to share. And I want you to open it. Inside, you'll find a question written by Jaden, Joe, and Matthew related to one of the universal themes from their stories. Questions they wanted the audience and got the audience to ask themselves. And I put these questions inside envelopes because they're invitations. Invitations to step into our own lived experience before stepping into the lived experience of another. Invitations to find ways our stories overlap. We've all heard that hearing other people's stories is the best way to break down barriers and to stop the othering of people who are not like us. But I think that doesn't go far enough. If we really want to reap the benefits of storytelling, we have to make sure the conversation is going both ways. Not just the luminary on the podcast or the sage on the stage or the kid with the turban answering everyone's questions. It's when the storyteller shares a story and then says, "What about you?" I'm now taking everything I learned from my Steve Jobs Archive Fellowship a step further. I've just started a PhD in counseling psychology at the University of Iowa, and I'm already noticing that in traditional forms of therapy, one person has all of the questions, and another person has all of the answers. It's like elementary school all over again. In my program, I'm already learning approaches to subvert this power dynamic. And I'm learning about how the process of organizing the episodes of our lives into stories can be therapeutic. And I'm learning ways not just to tell our stories, but to change our stories. That's the next frontier for me. And that's where my curiosity is taking me. Thank you.